He was a normal farmer living life with a single aspiration and purpose to have happy days with his family. But they attacked his family, killing his son and leading to kidnapping of his wife. This brutality unveiled the villain hidden him, leading to the worst human hunting on that day. Welcome back to Paramount Recapped. I don't have many subscribers, but your single comment is a ray of hope to motivate me. The movie kicks off by introducing us to Galien, a shady sorcerer who's dating Muriel, the daughter of the kingdom's most powerful mage. But Galien's no good. He's sneakily draining her magic by kissing her, and she's completely clueless because love's got her in a spell, literally. Meanwhile, we jump to a farm where the main character, simply known as Farmer, is out working the fields with his son Jeff. Though his job title is Farmer, don't let that fool you. He's got the skills of a battle-hardened warrior. Guess farming isn't as peaceful as we thought. Soon, Farmer's buddy Norik shows up with a pig in tow. While chatting, Norik casually mentions that the kingdom is on the lookout for soldiers and suggests Farmer should enlist. Farmer isn't interested though. He's all about his simple life with his family and his farm. "I'll pass," he says, preferring the company of animals over the chaos of the kingdom. Can't blame him. Pigs are probably easier to handle than soldiers anyway. Later that night, Farmer has Norik over for dinner. During the meal, Jeff brings up the idea of joining the army, but Farmer's wife, Salana, isn't having it. She makes it clear, "You're not leaving to fight for some king," and Farmer reassures her that he's only battling for a good night's sleep, nothing else. The next day, Salana heads off with Jeff to visit her parents. On the way, she explains to Jeff why his dad doesn't have a proper name. Turns out, Farmer was orphaned and taken in by the villagers, who called him Boy growing up. He wasn't a fan of that name, so he chose Farmer when he got older. If the name fits. While visiting her folks, Salana helps with the harvest, showing Jeff how farming is done right. Hard work, dedication, and a bit of sweat. Meanwhile, back at the palace, King Conrad is enjoying lunch with his shady nephew, Duke Fallow, when a soldier bursts in with bad news. The Kroogs, who are like demonic creatures, are attacking the kingdom. What's worse is that they're now wielding weapons. The king is stunned, thinking, demon soldiers? Seriously? What next? Muriel, on the other hand, is hanging out at home, studying magic from her dad's spellbook. She's eager to help out at the palace, but her dad, Merrick, shuts that down, saying it's too dangerous. He's already lost his wife to the dangers of magic, and he's not about to lose his daughter too. Back at the farm, Farmer hears some strange noises while chopping wood. Naturally, instead of staying put, he investigates and is immediately ambushed by Kroogs. Thankfully, his warrior instincts kick in, and he takes them out. He then notices smoke coming from Norik's place and rushes over to help. Together, they fend off more Kroogs, but Farmer realizes he needs to head to Stonebridge Village, where his family is, to make sure they're safe. Norik joins him on the mission. Meanwhile, Muriel is training with Tirish, the kingdom's top military commander. She's determined to join the fight, but Tirish advises her to get her father's permission first. Things get even more tense when Duke Fallow shows up, throwing his weight around and bossing Tirish around, but Tirish isn't having it. "You're not the king, Duke," he snaps. Over in Stonebridge, Salana spots the Kroogs approaching and sounds the alarm. The villagers try to evacuate, but it's too late. The Kroogs attack. Farmer and Norik arrive just in time to save the day, but the Kroogs keep coming, this time on horseback. When Farmer rushes to check on his in-laws, he finds their house under attack, and despite his best efforts, they don't survive. Farmer tells Jeff to run for safety, but tragedy strikes when a Kroog catches up and kills his son. Heartbroken, Farmer buries his family that evening, while Norik tries to console him, refusing to believe that Salana is dead since no one's found her body yet. Farmer clings to that hope. Elsewhere, Duke Fallow and Galien are busy plotting to take down King Conrad. Galien's plan to use the Kroogs as his personal army is working smoothly, but Farmer's proving to be a thorn in his side. Who knew a simple farmer could cause this much trouble? Galien grumbles, realizing Farmer isn't just an ordinary man. The next day, King Conrad visits the village to pay his respects to those who died in the attack. During the visit, they learn that some villagers, including Salana, were captured by the Kroogs. The kingdom needs volunteers to rescue them, but after the recent attack, no one's eager to step up. Fed up with the king's leadership, Farmer decides to go after the Kroogs himself, with Norik and another villager, Bastion, joining him. As they journey through the forest, they face several challenges, including a cliff that claims their horses. Because of course the horses couldn't just stay on the path, Norik mutters as they continue on foot. Back at the palace, King Conrad returns to find Duke Fallow sitting on the throne, acting like he owns the place. Furious, the king confronts him, but Fallow escapes, running to Gallian to speed up their plan to overthrow the king. Meanwhile, the Krugs are dragging their captives, including Salana, to their camp. Farmer and his group press on, though exhaustion is starting to set in. They finally stop for a break. Back at the palace, Duke Fallow pretends to apologize to the king, but it's all a ruse. The poison Fallow slipped into the king's food starts to kick in, and King Conrad collapses, leaving the kingdom in even greater danger. One night, King Conrad finally wakes up from being unconscious, but Merrick, always the level-headed one, advises him to slow down. Of course, the king isn't listening to that. He instantly commands Tirish to gather the troops, knowing they're running out of time. On top of that, he's aware his nephew has turned on him. Determined to fight until the end, the king gets ready for one last battle. Tirish and Merrick rush to get everything set, but before they part ways, Merrick gives Tirish a magical upgrade. He opens Tirish's spiritual eye, letting him see that Gallian has been hanging around the palace, thanks to Duke Fallow's help. Meanwhile, Farmer and his crew get some assistance from Allura as they navigate the Forbidden Forest. She's cool with them since Farmer, Norik, and Bastion aren't messing up the place. At the edge of the woods, they spot a bunch of Krug hanging around below. While they're distracted, a Krug sneaks up on Bastion, but Farmer and Norik handle it swiftly. Then, Norik gets a bright idea, disguising themselves with Krug armor. Clever, right? The disguise works, and they manage to sneak into the Krug camp. But just as things seem to be going smoothly, Farmer spots his wife, Salana, locked up in a cage. Unfortunately, their luck runs out, and after a tough fight, the Krug figure them out and knock them all out. Elsewhere, Merrick decides it's time to confront Gallian. He tries to convince Gallian to abandon his wicked plan, but Gallian isn't backing down. So, the battle begins. Meanwhile, Duke Fallow takes part of the army to join the Krug and even accuses Tirish of poisoning the king, even though the king's alive and gearing up for battle. As the fight rages on, Farmer finds himself in big trouble, nearly getting hanged by a Krug. But this isn't just any Krug. This one is under Gallian's control, and Gallian is curious about Farmer's true identity. While Gallian's distracted, Farmer fights back, kills the Krug, and passes out. Bastion and Norik end up in the same cell as Salana and the other villagers. Bastion tells Salana the heartbreaking news that her son Jeff and her parents are gone. He reassures her that Farmer will come for them. Farmer wakes up later, just in time for Merrick to arrive with some medicine. Back at the palace, Muriel feels guilty about being tricked by Gallian, but her servant encourages her to make her father proud. Feeling inspired, Muriel suits up for the battle. Merrick takes Farmer to the military camp for proper care. Tirish isn't convinced since Farmer had refused to help before, but Merrick knows Farmer's worth. He reveals that Farmer is actually the king's long-lost son and rightful heir to the throne. However, Farmer isn't happy about this, feeling abandoned for so long. Meanwhile, Duke Fallow is having a grand old time instead of focusing on the war. Gallian sends a message through a Krug, instructing Fallow to burn down the palace and move the capital. At first, Fallow hesitates, but he eventually agrees. Back at the camp, Farmer's still set on rescuing his family and doesn't care much about the king's affairs. Merrick keeps pushing him to join the battle. Later, Tirish leads the soldiers to reclaim the ones Fallow took. Thanks to the king's presence, many of Fallow's soldiers switch sides. After some thinking, Farmer finally decides to join the fight. Fallow, left with only his loyal followers and the Krug controlled by Gallian, braces for the final showdown. The Krug are tough fighters, especially with their fire cannons, but Tirish and Farmer figure out that the mounted Krug are leading the charge. If they take them down, they might just win. In the chaos, Duke Fallow fires an arrow at the king, wounding him. Seeing his father hurt, Farmer loses it, takes out the mounted Krug, and turns the battle in their favor. Fallow and his men try to flee, but Muriel, without Laura's help, traps them in the Forbidden Forest. After a fierce fight, Fallow and his crew are captured. Meanwhile, Norik and Bastion lead a revolt against the Krug, though Norik tragically dies. On the battlefield, the king and Farmer have a moment, but before they can fully connect, the king succumbs to his wounds. With the king gone, Farmer is crowned the new ruler, taking the name Camden Conrad. He delivers a powerful speech to the soldiers, preparing them for the next stage of the war. Gallian, watching from afar, is furious and starts plotting again. Gallian, determined to break Farmer, decides to use Salana as bait. Salana, still a prisoner, demands to know how Gallian figured out she was Farmer's wife. Gallian doesn't give her a straight answer, but drops a bomb. She's pregnant. Salana is left shocked and vulnerable. On the battlefield, Farmer and his army hold a funeral for King Conrad. Afterward, they start gearing up for the next fight. Muriel, fully committed, asks to join the army. Though Merrick isn't thrilled, Farmer agrees. She also requests Allura and her warriors to join to get revenge on Gallian for the damage done to their land. Muriel leads Farmer and Allura's group to Crimson Valley, where Gallian is keeping the villagers hostage. It's tough to get in, but Merrick finds a hidden way inside. He faces Gallian in a magical duel, but Gallian proves too strong, fatally wounding him. However, Merrick's sacrifice buys Farmer and the others enough time to get into position. Muriel, finding Merrick dying, stays with him as he passes his power to her. Bastion leads a revolt against the Krug, and Tyr's forces gain the upper hand. Farmer finds Salana and frees her, but before they can escape, he confronts Gallian in a final duel. Though Gallian's magic is powerful, Farmer holds his own. Just when Gallian tries one last move, Muriel steps in to save Farmer. Salana then stabs Gallian, and Farmer finishes him off by cutting off his head. With Gallian dead, the Krug retreat, and the war ends. Peace is restored, and Fallow's followers are captured. Farmer, now King Kamen Conrad, gives a speech to rally his people for the future, reminding them the kingdom must remain strong to maintain peace.